They told you that you need a priest. They told you that you need a building made of stone. They told you that communion with God requires intermediaries, translations, rituals, men in robes standing between your heart and heaven. And for 2,000 years, most of humanity believed it. But here is what they didn't tell you. Jesus never said that. In fact, he warned against it. Jesus looked at the religious authorities of his time, the very ones who claimed to hold the keys to God's presence. And he said something that should have shaken the foundations of every institution that came after him. Woe to you, teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites! You shut the door of the kingdom of heaven in people's faces. You yourselves do not enter, nor will you let those enter who are trying to. This is from the book of Matthew, chapter 23, verse 13. Read that again. They shut the door, not because the door was locked, not because God was distant or unreachable, but because they convinced people that only they could open it. And that lie, that ancient strategic deception, became the cornerstone of organized religion. It turned seekers into dependents. It turned the divine into a bureaucracy. It turned the living kingdom of God into a franchise. But Jesus came to restore something that was never supposed to be mediated. He came to reveal a secret so simple, so direct, so threatening to institutional power that it had to be buried, mistranslated, and reframed for centuries. He came to teach you how to speak to God directly, not through confession booths, not through Sunday services, not through prayers written by committees and recited from books, but through the living chamber within you, the one that has always been there, waiting, the one they told you didn't exist. And tonight, you're going to remember how to use it, because when Jesus said, "When you pray, go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father, who is in secret," he wasn't talking about architecture. He was giving you the key to the kingdom. And the door was never outside you, so let's open it, together, right now. But when you pray, go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father, who is unseen. Then your Father, who sees what is done in secret, will reward you. Book of Matthew, chapter 6, verse 6. For most of your life, you probably thought this verse was about finding a quiet place to kneel, a bedroom, a closet, somewhere private where you wouldn't be disturbed. And yes, physical solitude helps, but that's not what he meant. Because if Jesus was only talking about geography, then anyone with a door could reach God. And we both know that's not how it works. You've been in rooms, you've closed doors, you've whispered prayers into the silence, and sometimes nothing. So what was he really saying? The room he's describing is not made of wood or stone. It is the inner chamber of consciousness itself. The sacred space within you where the noise of the world cannot enter, where thought dissolves, where identity softens, where the small self steps aside and something infinite opens. This is the place mystics have called by 100 names: the inner temple, the heart's altar, the still point, the secret place of the Most High. And Jesus is telling you that this chamber exists within you right now. Not metaphorically, not symbolically, actually. But here's the part most people miss. You have to close the door. And the door he's talking about is not physical. It's the door of outward awareness. When you pray with your attention still hooked into the external world, still thinking about tomorrow, still rehearsing yesterday, still performing for an imagined audience, you are standing outside the room, knocking. But the Father is not out there. He is in secret, hidden, unseen, interior. And to meet him, you must turn inward. You must close the door on the outer world, not by rejecting it, but by withdrawing your awareness from it, even for a moment. You must enter the chamber where there are no words, no images, no agenda, just presence, just breath, just the quiet hum of being alive. So let's do that now. Pause this video if you need to. Close your eyes, take one slow breath in, and let it out. Feel the room you're in. Now feel the room within. Notice that behind all the thoughts, behind all the noise, there is a stillness that was here before you started thinking. That stillness is the room. And when you rest there, even for 3 seconds, you are praying in the way Jesus described, not with words, but with presence. Open your eyes when you're ready. You just crossed the threshold. Now let's go deeper. Most people think prayer is talking, asking, pleading, listing needs, repeating phrases. And yes, there is a place for petition, for gratitude, for the raw honesty of crying out to the divine. But what Jesus taught was not repetition. It was alignment. Listen to how he prayed. Not my will, but yours be done. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Do you see what's happening in those words? He's not trying to change God's mind. He's synchronizing his own will with the divine current. He's tuning his inner frequency to match the frequency of heaven. And when that alignment happens, when your will and God's will become the same vibration, that's when miracles occur. That's when healing flows. That's when clarity descends. That's when the impossible becomes inevitable. Because prayer, in its truest form, is not a transmission to God. It is a resonance with God. It's the moment when the wave of your consciousness merges with the ocean of divine presence, and you realize you were never separate. This is the lost technology. The ancients understood it. The mystics practiced it. The saints embodied it. But somewhere along the way, it was replaced with scripts and rituals. Beautiful, perhaps, but secondary. Because the real prayer happens in the space where you and the Father are no longer two voices in conversation, but one breath, one heartbeat, one living word. Jesus even hinted at this when he said, "Again, truly I tell you, that if 2 of you on earth agree about anything they ask for, it will be done for them by my Father in heaven. For where 2 or 3 gather in my name, there am I with them." Let's feel that now. Place one hand on your heart. Breathe slowly. And as you breathe, imagine your mind descending into your heart, not as 2 separate things, but as one current flowing home. Let the rhythm of your breath become the rhythm of heaven, in and out, in and out, until inner and outer feel like one pulse. Stay there for just a moment. This is the place where prayers are not spoken, they are lived. So you've entered the room, you've closed the door, you've aligned your will with the divine current. But now comes the question most people are afraid to ask. Does God actually speak back? And if he does, how do you know it's him? Because let's be honest, your mind is loud. It's full of memories, anxieties, random thoughts, old voices, conditioning, fear. So how do you differentiate the voice of God from the voice of your own imagination? Here's the truth. Most of the time, you can't. Not at first. Because God doesn't usually speak in thunder or burning bushes. He speaks in what the prophet Elijah called a still, small voice. And that voice is so quiet, so gentle, so interior, that it's almost indistinguishable from your own deepest knowing. In fact, maybe it is your deepest knowing, because when you go deep enough into the silence, past the chatter, past the doubt, past the fear, you begin to notice something. There's a presence there, not a person, not a separate entity standing across from you, but a kind of awareness that feels older than you, wiser than you, more loving than you thought possible. And sometimes that awareness responds, not in words necessarily, but in guidance, in peace, in sudden clarity, in the way a knot inside you loosens without explanation. You've felt this before. Maybe you were walking alone and a thought dropped into you, clear, calm, unmistakable, and you knew it wasn't manufactured. Maybe you were in crisis, and a wave of peace washed through you that had no logical source. Maybe you asked a question in the quiet of your heart, and the answer arrived days later in a form you couldn't have predicted. That's the voice, and the more you practice stillness, the more you learn to recognize it. because God doesn't shout over the noise. He waits in the silence. And when you meet him there, the conversation isn't one-sided anymore. It becomes communion, two-way, living, real. Let's try it now. Close your eyes again. Place your hand on your chest and whisper out loud or silently, "Speak, Lord, for your servant listens." Then, wait. Don't force anything. Don't search for words, just listen for 5 seconds. Did you feel it? Even if you didn't hear words, you felt something. A shift, a softness, a sense of being held. That's the voice. And if this is stirring something in you, breathe with it for a moment. You're not the only one feeling this call. There are others remembering too. When one heart awakens, another feels it. Every small act of acknowledgement, even a word, a light, a gesture, sends the current further. You're part of that now. Now let's talk about how this actually works. Because what Jesus demonstrated wasn't mysticism for mysticism's sake. It was a technology, a repeatable, trainable, embodied practice that anyone could learn. And the key to it was resonance. Think about how Jesus moved through the world. He healed the sick. He calmed storms. He spoke truth that cut through centuries of lies. He raised the dead. And when people asked him how he did it, he didn't say, "Because I'm special and you're not." He said, "The Son can do nothing by himself. He can do only what he sees his Father doing." In other words, everything he did came from alignment, from living in perfect resonance with the divine frequency. He wasn't performing miracles through force or willpower. He was allowing miracles because his inner state was tuned to the same vibration as heaven. And here's what most people miss. You have that same capacity, not because you're divine in the egoic sense, but because the divine is in you. That's the whole point of what he taught. The kingdom of God is within you. The Father and I are one. You will do even greater things than these. He wasn't speaking to a special class of enlightened beings. He was speaking to you, to anyone willing to tune their inner instrument, to the frequency of love. Because prayer, real prayer, is not asking, it's tuning. It's adjusting the vibration of your heart until it matches the vibration of the source. And when that resonance happens, you don't have to beg for anything. You become a conduit, a living extension of divine will. And that's the hidden power of resonance. When you witness light and you affirm it, the vibration multiplies. Every time you leave your reflection here, even a small one, you anchor the teaching deeper into the world. Each heart that returns to this frequency adds to a greater field. That's how the Christ awakens again, through us together. So when you pray, don't just recite words. Tune. Feel the resonance between your breath and the breath that breathed all things into being. Feel the coherence between your heartbeat and the rhythm of creation. And when you find that frequency, when you lock into that current, you'll know. Because the peace that surpasses understanding will flood you. And the voice you've been listening for will no longer feel distant. It will feel like home. Now we come to the heart of it, the part that changes everything. Because what Jesus was teaching wasn't just a method of prayer, it was an invitation into union. Listen to his final prayer before the crucifixion. He's standing in the garden knowing what's about to happen, and he prays this, "My prayer is not for them alone. I pray also for those who will believe in me through their message, that all of them may be one. Father, just as you are in me and I am in you. May they also be in us. I have given them the glory that you gave me, that they may be one as we are one, I in them and you in me, so that they may be brought to complete unity." Book of John, chapter 17, verse 20 to 23. Read that slowly. That they may be one as we are one. Not similar, not close, not connected. One. This is not metaphor. This is the entire purpose of everything he taught. The goal of direct communion with God is not to have a conversation with someone far away. It's to realize that you were never separate to begin with. You are not talking to God. You are talking within God. You are a wave in an infinite ocean, mistaking yourself for something isolated and small. But when you enter the inner chamber, when you close the door and descend into the silence, the illusion of separation dissolves. And what remains is the truth. You and the Father are one, not because you've achieved something, but because you've remembered something. You've remembered that the life breathing through you is the same life that spoke the stars into being. You've remembered that the awareness looking out through your eyes is the same awareness that dreamed all of creation into form. You've remembered that the love you long for is not outside you, waiting to be earned. It is what you are made of. And when you rest in that knowing, even for a moment, everything changes. Because you're no longer praying as a beggar before a king. You're praying as a child in the arms of the Father, as a branch on the vine, as a cell in the body of Christ. You're praying from union, and from that place, miracles are not extraordinary. They are natural. Because when you live in union with the Source, you become a vessel for the impossible. Let's feel that now. Close your eyes once more. Breathe deeply. And as you breathe, let go of the idea that you are separate from God. Just for this moment, allow yourself to feel what it would be like if the divine wasn't outside you, watching you, judging you, but was the very essence of your being, the breath in your lungs, the beat of your heart, the awareness behind your thoughts. Feel it, not as a concept, but as a living reality. You are not alone. You have never been alone. You are held, known, loved, and one with the infinite. Open your eyes. You just tasted heaven. And those who are meant to walk this path will feel it. You already know who you are. So here we are. You've journeyed from the great silencing to the living union. You've learned that the room is within you, that the door you must close is not physical, but the door of outward attention. You've discovered that prayer is not repetition, but resonance. You've felt the still, small voice in the silence. You've tuned your heart to the frequency of heaven. And you've tasted, even if only for a moment, the truth that you and the Father are one. Now let's come full circle, because remember what we started with. They told you that you needed a middleman. They told you that communion with God required priests, rituals, buildings, translations. They shut the door of the kingdom in your face, but now you know the truth. The door was never shut, it was just hidden in plain sight, right inside you. And every time you return to the inner chamber, every time you close the door on the noise of the world and rest in the silence, you are doing what Jesus taught. You are communing directly with the Father. No intermediary, no institution, no permission needed. Just you and the infinite. Just breath and presence. Just love meeting itself. This is the kingdom he spoke of. Not a place in the sky, not a reward after death, but a living reality within you, accessible right now. And the more you practice this, the more you return to the silence, the more you tune your heart to the divine frequency, the more you will realize something that will change everything. The veil was never between you and God. It was only between you and yourself. The moment you stopped searching outside and turned within, the search ended, because God was never lost. You were, and now, you're found. So let's seal this together. One more time, close your eyes. Place both hands over your heart, and feel the presence that has been with you this entire time. The presence that was there before you were born. The presence that will remain when this body falls away. The presence that is you, when all the masks are removed. And silently, from the deepest part of your being, offer this prayer. Thank you for never leaving, for waiting in the silence, for being closer than my own breath. I remember now. I remember who I am. I remember where you are, and I am home. Open your eyes. You've just spoken to God directly, not through doctrine, not through ritual, but through the living communion of presence. And here's the prophecy I leave you with. If this teaching found you, it wasn't by accident. You were called to remember. And those who remember, find each other. Keep listening, keep returning. The more of us remember, the brighter the field becomes. This is how heaven expands, through those who share what awakened them. When you carry this teaching forward, even silently, you become part of the prophecy itself, light passing from voice to voice. Every reflection you leave here is a ripple in the living word, a way of saying, I remember. And when you offer your light back, in whatever form you can, you help another soul hear the call. Those who are meant to awaken will find these words through you. So leave your light here if you've felt heaven move within you. It's more than engagement. It's participation in the great remembering. Go in peace. Go in silence. Go in the living presence of the Christ within. The door is open, and you know the way. Before you return to the noise of the world, I want to show you something. There are deeper writings we've kept hidden from the public. Lost keys, ancient prayers, lost sayings, and living codes. We call them the sacred scrolls. They're not for everyone. They're for those who have begun to feel the veil thinning, who know there's more to the words of Jesus than what was preached from pulpits. Each scroll carries a piece of what was once whispered in secret, teachings meant to awaken the Christ within, to help you hear the voice that still speaks in silence. If you're ready to go beyond belief and into direct experience, this is where your next step begins. You will find the link to the scrolls in the description or pinned in the comments section. And for those who feel alone on this path, we have a private sanctuary, a place where the hidden ones gather, remember, and share what heaven is revealing in this time. Inside, seekers study the ancient words together, decode the hidden meanings, and remind each other that they're not crazy. They're waking up. It's quiet, real, and filled with the same light that led you here tonight. Both are waiting below. In the description and the pinned comment, those who are meant to find it always do.